I am so happy to bring this next presenter up, and she is from the hometown here in Michigan, and she is not a stranger to the Mesa community. So glad to have Kristen Brogan back. She's one of the Johnson crew on Target living here in this area, but she is doing her own thing. Kristen is a dietitian, a chef, a cookbook author, yoga instructor, and podcaster. Today, she's coming to us talking about movement. She's a private chef, dietitian, yoga instructor, and a speaker who has spent the last 5 years fueling governors, NBA players, professional coaches, CEOs, celebrities, and ultra high net worth individuals with food that support real energy and real life. Beyond the kitchen, she has also led nourishing self-care retreats built around the simple but powerful pillars of rest, eat, and move, helping people step out of burnout and back into balance to help them feel better, not busier. And that's what we're here. We want to feel better. She shares the philosophy behind that work on stages around the world as a speaker on Target Living, helping audience rethink how food, rest, movement, mindfulness fuel both performance and well-being. When she's not in the kitchen speaking, Kristen is rooted in Chicago life as a proud mom of three now, two adventurous boys and one baby girl. Thank you, Kristen.
You're
Thank
the
you for
best.
coming back to
Yes.
visit Mesa. So glad to have you.
I couldn't get away from you guys. And yes, it's a family business. We just have too much fun here. So thank you everyone for having me. This is a really fun topic. We're talking about motion. Motion is medicine. And I think we're just going to kind of change the mindset when it comes to movement because I think a lot of times people think, and everyone can see my screen, correct? You guys can see it okay? I know you guys are on mute.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you're not in presentation mode though.
Okay, let
No,
me
I see
just
your
put the
face. I
lay.
don't see your screen. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna put it side by side here so everyone can see both. Can you see me too, or just my screen?
You're on a side by side right now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so when we kick off Motion is Medicine, and obviously it's Mental Health Awareness Month as well, this kind of all goes together. We can think about movement so much more as just working out for weight loss or for exercise. A lot of times we think it's a chore and then we just don't stick with it and we don't look forward to it. So instead, we're refocusing that mindset and we're thinking about we're not exercising to lose weight, we're exercising to feel good. Because my dad, he's 60, he's going to be 69 this year. He's always said he was a personal trainer in his early career. Motion creates positive emotion. And I never really understood what that means. It never resonated with me until I got older and I became a mom and became a busy professional. But it is the number one way to change how you feel. And so if we think about we're exercising or we're moving our body so that we can feel better, and then all those demands that we have in our lives feel a little bit easier because when we are stressed, when we have a demands, and as educators, you guys are always on, you're always in go mode, you're always giving energy to everyone else. And when we can have more time and more energy to ourselves, that's where we can feel better, not only in our work, but also our life. So thinking about this is what we can do for mood. This is what washes the brain. It can reduce stress. We're doing it because it makes us feel good. And I think sometimes we live these lifestyles where it's the small things, they add up and then they feel big. And it's big things that feel overwhelming. And at the end of the day, it's all about how we kind of respond to the things in our life. And we can do that through movement. So thinking of it as medicine today. And the biggest thing is, again, when we start to change the way that we move and we get up and we take a deep breath and maybe we stretch, we instantly feel better. We know that we're never going to regret moving our body. We know it makes us laugh. If I was there in person with you, I'd have everyone up and we'd be maybe just doing some side stretches or, rocking those hips side to side, just moving the body in a way where it started to feel good. And then that's where people start to laugh and smile. So it's a good way to get out of that moment of stress and demands. Now, we all talk about, well, I don't have enough time to exercise or move, right? So if we think about, it's not about managing our time, it's about managing our energy, because when we have more energy, we can do more in the time that we have. So that's just a simple concept that we're going to kind of always come back to today. It's not about time. We don't have to spend 60 minutes in the gym. We just have to do daily movement each day. It's almost like compound interest. And I think we all have felt good energy throughout the day, and that's where we can be most productive. I finally got a good night's sleep last night. My daughter, she's 18 months and she's my third, and I've had two other children, but for some reason I forget about all these sleep regressions, and she's getting molars and she's not sleeping, and she's trying to talk, and there's all these things. So for the last 30 days, I'd say she is up maybe 3 or 4 times a night. And last night she decided to sleep through the night, I think because she knew I was coming to talk to you guys about energy and movement. And I can't tell you how much different I feel just having that good night of sleep. And I feel like that time today is going to be much more productive. So, a little thing I'm going to talk about with movement, and maybe some of you already exercise, maybe some of you don't do much at all. Find things that you enjoy, things that you can stick with. Because if you're doing something that you hate, you're not going to be able to sustain it. If you don't like yoga, don't do yoga. If you don't like Stairmaster, don't do Stairmaster. Don't do things that cause you stress, because the coolest thing is there's so many different ways to move and there's no one right way. And that's personally why sometimes I love yoga, because the instructor will say, your form doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to do every single pose. You do what feels good to you. And if you are just in the back of the room breathing, that is yoga. So again, doing things that you really enjoy, and don't do it because it stresses you out. And then this is a movement pyramid. We talk a lot about this in our business here. Is variety really is the key. We don't want to just stick with, maybe just cardio all the time. We want to loop in a variety. That's really the spice of life. So we talked about that movement mindset. We can't outrun a bad diet. Eating is majority of the equation. We exercise to feel good. And then, of course, we need to do things that really prepare our body and protect our joints. I'm turning 40 this year. I find that I can't just go out on a run or, hop on the Stairmaster or just grab some dumbbells. I need to warm up my body. And that's really the foundation that just prepares the body for movement and gets the blood flowing. And then, of course, we know we need cardio, we need strength training, we need a balance of movements. Cardio is really what makes us feel good, and strength training is that fountain of youth. It helps us build muscle and age well. And then just mastering the basics. I think a lot of times people try to change up their movement so much, and then they're never mastering, the basics. So I think everyone can see this. I have the slides up. Do you see the slides? Change it to slide view. Okay. Let's see. Can you guys see okay? Okay.
Okay, that's good. And if you could
That's
put that in presentation mode,
okay. Was the slides a little too small?
Yeah,
Okay. Got it. Okay, here we go.
perfect.
Okay. Oops. Okay. Okay. Oh, no, it's doing something funny to me. Hold on. I'm writing now. Okay. Oh no, it keeps freezing in this slide mode. Let's see if I can exit out. Hold on. I don't know if you have capability of exiting the share.
Exiting, you want to,
Stop the share.
I don't,
No,
does
it
anybody,
just it just froze, so I can't change
it
it out
look,
of here.
okay, we
Okay,
got
there
it.
we go. Okay, let me try this again. Don't you love technology? It's like it should
Love
be
it.
easier, but it's just, it just gives us issues.
It has a mind
Let
of
me
its
go.
own
It
sometimes.
sure does. Okay, let me go back into this. Okay, we'll try this again. Okay. So when it comes to movement, and I think the top of this pyramid is play.
We
We
don't
do,
have a slide. Do you have anything up?
oh, shoot. Okay,
There
there
you
we go.
go. So we're
Okay.
just in the presentation mode and you'll have it.
All right. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. So for some reason, every time I share this, it wants to freeze on me. So I think when we think about a lot of movements, what I always love to think about is what are we training for? Are we just going to the gym to go to the gym? And of course, it's going to make us feel good, but is there something in our life that we want to do? Do we want to put the rollerblades back on? Do we want to play basketball with our kids? Pickleball is like the newest thing right now. So, what are we training for? I think sometimes that's what gets us out of this funk or this mindset around movement is we can actually do certain exercises that prepare us for play. And I think as adults, we just don't play enough. My kids just had this festival at school and they had a limbo station. And my kids had no idea how to do the limbo. And I was like, okay, move aside. Let your mom show you how to do it. And instantly, like I pulled my hamstring and I felt like I haven't bended that way in a long time. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to train for the limbo and I'm going to get back to some of the exercises I did where I felt a little bit more flexible and limber. So just thinking about, I think we need to play more, but maybe we're training to do that as well. And then I think a big piece too, and I am going to kind of do this side by side because I want to show you a couple things when it comes to posture here is if you think about posture, every movement that we're doing, we want to focus on ideal posture because this prevents injury. And this also puts us back into alignment. I think from sitting all day and all these demands, we're sitting in the car, we get out of alignment and, our head starts to go forward. We're looking at our iPhones, we're watching the TV. So we're never in that ideal alignment. And that's where we start to see injury and even just pain in general. So thinking about all these things are lined up. So what I always love to do, if you can see me here, sometimes I just go to a wall and I put my heels against the wall and my butt's against the wall, my shoulders are against the wall, my ear, my shoulder, my hip, my knee, everything is in a line. And then I'm just raising those arms overhead. So this is just a simple wall extension for posture. If you are feeling like your shoulders are hunching over, that limits your mobility with just your arms in general. A lot of people can't put their arms over your head. This is a good exercise to do just a few minutes each day. So again, everything is against the wall. And you could do this even in your classrooms. You can do this. Sometimes I do this when I'm in the airport. Like if I just have a couple extra minutes, I'm just kind of working on that posture. So thinking about everything in place here. And then even just kind of doing some flexions and extensions are really good for posture. So think about using a chair here, and maybe you're just going to do modified up dog, down dog. So you're going to lift up, chest up, and you're going to bend back, sticking that butt back. So arching up, we're getting that extension. And then bending forward, we're getting that flexion. And that's also very good for posture as well. So whatever movement it is that you do, you really want to focus on ideal posture. And then when we talked about variety of movement and when we think about motion as medicine, we really need this variety. We need the warm up, we need foundational exercises, which are balance and flexibility. There's two things we lose as we age, and that's balance and our flexibility. So preventing falling in the first place, I think, we think that may just be for older people, but we want to really focus on that in our younger years because what we do in our 20s, we see in our 30s, what we do in our 30s, we see in our 40s, what we do in our 40s, we see in our 50s, and so on. So we really want to practice this even at a younger age. And then cardio, thinking of this as feel good movement. So you really don't have to spend anything longer than 20 minutes if you really want to see results. If you're training for an endurance sport, that's a whole nother thing. But from a fitness standpoint, you don't need more than 20 minutes. And if you feel like you're not getting winded from cardio, maybe you're just getting that heart rate up a little bit. Maybe you're doing intervals. Maybe you're getting the heart rate up and then you're lowering it back down or just going at a higher intensity. And strength training, it doesn't have to take a long time, 10, maybe 40 minutes. I get in and out of the gym a lot of times within 45 minutes and I'm not spending a lot of time. And then always kind of cooling down and stretching. So this is what dynamic warm up looks like. And if you guys are up for it and you want to do a little warm up with me, I know it's kind of mid morning for you. And this is where we kind of start to get sleepy. You may have been sitting already this morning. If you want to get up, we're going to do dynamic warm up. And this just gets the body ready for movement. So we can just do some simple arm swings. So again, this thoracic extension where we're putting that natural alignment into our spine. And then what I always love to do is kind of work my neck. We don't work our neck enough. So chin to shoulder. And again, we're focusing on that ideal posture. And then you're going to take your ear to your shoulder. And with whatever you're doing, especially when it comes to posture, suck that navel in towards your spine so you can work that core with whatever you're doing. You don't have to do a million sit-ups. And then we're just going to rotate side to side. Yep. Rotate side. Anytime we're doing these twistings, this is really good for digestion and energy. And then we can also just kind of go side to side overhead. So that's a simple warm up. We can even focus on our balance here where we're staying on one leg and we're just swinging the leg forward. And then we're swinging the leg side to side. And you can always find that one leg is better than the other. We'll switch sides here, and that's okay. And what I love about balance exercises is it washes the brain. You don't think about anything. The only thing you're thinking about is not falling. So when you feel like you have these stressful days, these are something you can do if you're in the classroom, get the kids going. Recently, and I'm going to go over to the foundation poses. Recently, my kids were in Chicago and we're in a small little condo, and the kids were all wild right before bed. And we have these foundational poses and warm ups on YouTube. So I turned it on and they were like, oh my gosh, that's Uncle Matt and that's Grandpa. And there's Mom. And we're doing exercises with them. And it was fun. And it doesn't, you can do it anywhere. You can do it in your own living room. So we think about foundation poses. These are balance and flexibility poses. We lose this as we age. So simple things would be like a squat with your own body weight. You're sucking that core up and in, squeezing everything nice and tight. Inner thighs together. It works your inner thighs more. It works your core. And then we can even do a straight-legged lunge. So right leg is out forward, back leg is straight. We're reaching those arms up. We can rock out the back calf here. And then we're just going to switch sides. Yep, just like that. And even warrior two, these are simple yoga poses. So you're bending that front knee, back leg is straight. Maybe you're reaching those arms out, reversing your warrior. I love a good triangle pose. So that front leg is straight. And then we'll just kind of switch to other side. So point the other toe forward. You're going to lunge here. Reverse your warrior. And then triangle pose. And so that's really the start of ideal exercise program just to get the body warmed up. And I'm going to put it on full slide mode so you can see this. Make sure that you can see this okay. So different things that happen with cardio versus strength, and that's why movement is so important and variety of movement is so important. When we think about cardio exercise, again, this makes us feel good. The hormones that are released, because there is a hormonal thing that happens when we exercise, hormones that are stimulated in cardio are those feel-good hormones. They're the adrenaline, the endorphins, the dopamine. We know that after we do something, physical and our heart is beating, we know it's cardiovascular. So it's really good for the heart. Think about the heart as that muscle. So that's what we can really train when we do cardio. That's what really makes us feel good. So think about all those hormones stimulated, those feel good hormones. Then also with strength training, you can think of the hormones that are stimulated as building hormones. And that's why we say that strength training is a fountain of youth, because it does build more muscle. Muscle can prevent falling, muscle can help with calcium. So especially when we're trying to preserve our calcium, we should do weight bearing exercises or strength training. It can just be with your own body weight. So this is what makes the bones and the muscle stronger over time. And the more muscle we have, the more calories we can actually burn at rest. So testosterone, growth hormone, estrogen, even insulin, it helps to make insulin more receptive to the cell or more sensitive to the cell. So we can allow glucose in a little bit easier. And testosterone, these are numbers that you can check. Even with women, you want your testosterone over 30. Men should be over 500, but these are just indicators of how well you're aging. So again, this is the whole fountain of youth. And we know that we need different movements because they do different things in the body. So when we think about cardio, it can be a lot of things. It could be running, it could be walking. You can walk at an incline. You can do, different agility type exercises, step aerobics, jump rope. So just thinking of anything that gets that heart pumping, that is cardio. That's what makes us feel good instantly. And then when it comes to strength training, this is anything that's putting that resistance on the body. So it can really help just the body to be more receptive to stress as you age. So thinking about it can be your own body weight, it can be resistance bands, it can be weights. Really, it can be just a lot of the things that you see here, planks. And then if we are thinking about what to train, if you do wanted to do more strength training with weights, this is a simple 3-day split routine that we always kind of start with. So maybe there's one day that you focus on chest and back. There's another day you do legs and butt. Another day you do shoulders and arms. And and then you can repeat those if you want. But I always I don't want to do strength every day. I like to do yoga. I like to go on a run. I like to change it up. So there's 3 days out of the week that I'm really focusing on strength training. And if you break it down into these muscle groups, it gets a little bit more manageable. So with chest and back, simple things, push up, chest press, rows, lat pull downs, back extensions, legs and butt, think about squats, those lunges, even deadlifts. And then shoulders and arms. I love shoulders and arms because these are your beach muscles. And this is what makes you look good. So shoulder presses, bicep curls, hammer curls, triceps, those type of things. And then if you wanted to look at your different reps and sets, usually a good rule of thumb is just 3 sets of 13 reps. And your intensity, your weight should be about moderate. Now, sometimes each month I'll change this up. Just I'm doing the same exercises, but my sets and reps are just different. So again, that's putting adaptation on the body so that you're just not plateauing or feeling like you're not seeing any results just by changing up sets and reps. So if you were to do 4 sets of 8 reps, then you want your weight to be a little bit heavier. Even there's some months where I'll do 5 sets of 5 reps, and that's where you have very heavy weight. So when you're doing those 5 reps, your 5th rep, say bicep curl, you want that to be very heavy. You don't want to be able to do many more than 5. And my first job ever was working as a dietitian and trainer for Meijer grocery stores. I love Meijer. And what I did was I helped people build their own home gyms. And I think that's very fun. I like going to a gym. It gets me motivated, but I also like staying in my own home because I like the comfort of that. So if you wanted to do something and start slowly, just a little bit each day, you could get your own home gym stuff. It could be just a mat. It could be resistance bands. You can get all this stuff at Meijer. You can find it anywhere. Kettlebells, you don't have to have a lot of equipment. Even resistance balls are really nice. I love starting with resistance bands though, because they are very safe and you can go at different resistance. So usually a yellow band can be the lightest, and then you can move up to even like blue or purple. And a lot of times when you're buying these things, it will give you kind of a guide of what to do. And then back to the flexibility and the kind of the cool down piece. Foam rolling is almost like a personal massage tool. So if you've ever foam rolled, this is a good way to break up all that dense muscle tissue that just builds up over time, especially when the body is stressed or we're standing or we're sitting. We're not going to obviously get a massage every day. We'd love to, but that's not the real world. So I always have a foam roll at my house. And I roll my back. You can put it in line with your spine. So your head is on one end, your butt is on the other, and you can open up the chest and do some deep breathing. You can roll your butt, you can roll your legs, your glutes, all those tight spots. Just think of it as a massage tool, and that's really handy to have. Now, when we think about motion and movement, we have to match it with our lifestyle and the stage of life that we are in. And I really love this. I've been talking a lot more about this lately, just as a mom of three and working full time. I'm in a very busy stage of my life. I'm not going to always be in this stage, but right now I don't have a lot of time for myself. I feel like I am always on go mode, probably like most of you. And I'm constantly living this intense lifestyle. So instead of doing intense movements, I want more chill pill exercises, whether it's meditation, it's yoga. I've been doing mat Pilates. I still love a run or I like to get my heart rate up, but I find that that's the movement that my stage of life needs. Now, we work with a lot of busy professionals who have a lot of stress, and we find that they're doing a lot of high intensity workouts because that's just how they're wired. So we really work to help those people do slower type of movements. So again, you want variety, but I think this is a fun thing to look at where you can see that just the different stages. You know, in childhood, we do a lot of play and we do a lot of those movements. Teen years, we're doing a lot of strength, we're developing a lot of skill. And then as we go through our life, even in our later life, we do need to go back to that mobility, that flexibility, and a lot of those balance poses. So I think that's a good, and also, you know, my parents are newly retired and they probably need more high intensity movements because they don't do a lot right now. So if you feel like you're busy, you're overloaded, you're stressed, maybe you need more restorative stuff. If you feel like you're just stuck, you're in a funk, you're sluggish, you don't have a lot of energy, maybe you need to do some things that can really get that heart rate up, more intense movements. And then again, the reason that variety is so important is because different movements help with different things. When you think about binding poses, so in yoga, we do a lot of eagle poses, or you're kind of doing a lot of like little twisting. This is really good for elimination and letting go. If you feel like you just are stuck, you're not having good digestion, maybe you're not going to the bathroom every day, this is a good thing to kind of release and detox. So maybe you're just in your chair and you're doing little stretches, you're looking over your right shoulder, other side here. You can bind your knees and kind of look to one side. So just doing those twistings, that gentle compression in your digestive tract really helps to rest and digest and stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system. Again, it helps with that elimination. And elimination is really important for weight loss. And grounding, balancing poses. Again, what I love about those is it brings you back to that present moment. That's all you're focusing on, is not falling. Tree pose, instantly, I feel like if I do a tree pose, which is what you see in this picture, it clears the mind and all that kind of mental clutter. So anytime you can focus on the balance. And then hip openers, you know, think about pigeon pose or laying down kind of that half pigeon pose. What I love about hip openers is hips store a lot of emotions. So over time, we tend to store tension in our jaw. So even now, we could probably feel like our jaw is clenched. That correlates with tension in the hips. So just releasing the jaw can actually open up the hips and release the hips. So thinking about these opener poses, you could even lay with the soles of your feet together and just letting those knees out wide, because when you loosen those hips, it helps release a lot of those emotions, a lot of that sitting fatigue and stress. And again, just kind of thinking about, are we always clenched? I think as women too, we are always sitting with our legs crossed. Even like in the car, we're always just like holding everything in, and we have to think about just releasing that and letting go. And then, you know, yoga, strength training, Pilates, pickleball, think about when you add that variety, that's really what prevents plateau, because I see a lot of people who are doing the same thing every day and they wonder why their body's not changing. So just adding these things that actually feel good. And recently, and I did yesterday that did a somatic movement class. Somatic movement helps to release trauma, and trauma can look all different shapes and sizes. It's subjective. Everyone has different trauma in their life. It could be a number of things. It could be, a bad situation at your job. It could be going through childbirth. It could be whatever it is. It's everyone holds on to this trauma and this tension. Somatic movement is almost like a flowing style of movement. So you're not you're not thinking about what you look like necessarily. You're thinking about what inside feels and how you're moving to feel. So it could be, yoga is a form of somatic movement where you're flowing more, you're connecting your breath with movement. But more things are like tapping. You can do a lot of tapping if you just kind of tap the arms and tap the chest, anywhere you feel like you're holding a lot of tension. Tapping is just a good form of stimulating that nervous system and really helping to release. It regulates the nervous system, releases some of that stored tension, helps with blood flow, shaking, swaying. That's why when we rock a baby, that's the whole idea behind rocking a baby. It's a somatic movement and it helps them just to feel grounded and secure. So it could be a number of things, spinal movements, even sound baths and like meditation, really good for the ears. That can also stimulate the nervous system. But it basically, when you think about somatic movement, it's just more free movement, more of a flowing style movement. And back to the sound bath, I'd say it's exercise for the ears. So it's basically vibrational energy that supports our well-being. So it can shift that nervous system back into balance. If anyone's ever went to sound bath therapy, it's basically just a little bowl and they use an instrument to kind of let that bowl sing. It's called a singing bowl. Or you could have beats, you could have music. I mean, there's a lot of things that can stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system to make us feel good. It could be nature sounds. It could be certain kind of soft music, a lot of different things, even just humming and singing. I think we have to go back to just the simple things in life to make us feel good. And I'm going to kind of give you a taste of what this sound bath, this feels like to our ears. I don't know if you can actually hear this, but thinking about the sounds of the waves, that's a good way for exercise for the ears, because a lot of times we have this constant, loud, everything is loud and nonstop, and we just need to kind of slow it down. Even just walking in nature, listening to the birds, the grass underneath our feet, maybe we're stepping on little sticks. All of that is just very grounding and relaxing. And when's the last time you walked through nature without your phone or taking pictures? So I think we have to think about, we move to feel good, and it's okay to feel content and just almost bored. We don't need to be busy, always being busy. And, because it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I think when we think about motion as medicine, that's really, really important. And we move to feel good. We don't move to, necessarily, yes, be fit, but we don't exercise to lose weight. We exercise to feel good. Always thinking about that piece. But good health really begins in the gut. And when we think about mental awareness, it does have a lot to do with not only how we move, but how we eat. So as a dietitian, I always have to touch on some sort of food piece. And when we start to eat better foods, we have a healthier gut. And then we have a healthier mind because there's this thing called the gut brain connection. And the gut is known as our second brain. It's all connected. So that's why sometimes when we feel stressed or anxious, we feel it in our gut. When we do deep breathing and these relaxing exercises, we feel calm in our mind. So it's all connected. And the reason I talk about food is because 90% of serotonin is made in the gut through the foods that we eat. Now, serotonin is that neurotransmitter that makes us feel happy and satisfied. And when we're talking about mental health, We have more anxiety, more depression, more mental health issues than ever before, but we're not eating the same way that we once did. So when we start to think about how do we produce more serotonin, because that's what makes us feel good, 90% is made in the gut through the foods that we eat. So thinking about foods that naturally stimulate serotonin production, these are whole foods. I call them foods closest to the source. Nothing is off limits when it's from the source. So you can think of one ingredient foods, foods that are going to be the most flavorful, least processed, even the most affordable. You're not spending a lot of money on foods in their natural state. So this is kind of how it looks. We know an apple is a whole food. It's in its natural state. It falls from the tree. If we eat an apple, how many apples do we eat? Probably just one. We're not overdoing these things. So therefore, we don't have to think about counting calories as much. When we eat foods in their whole form, these are foods that naturally produce serotonin in the body. We're not overdoing them. Now, the problem we run into is we eat a lot of dead foods, things that come in a box, a package, a gel, a smoothie, a bar. I mean, everything that we eat is a dead food. It will last for a long time. We know that if we bite into an apple, it starts to brown. It's a live food. It's full of these good enzymes. That's what fuels the gut, and that's what helps to give us a healthy brain. Where we run into issues and where we get confused when it comes to food is we move further and further away from the source. So not that applesauce is unhealthy, but we're probably going to over consume it. It's not going to have as many nutrients as an apple. And it takes us way less time to eat applesauce than an apple. And the first step of getting digestion better is chewing, because that's the first step of digestion is chewing our foods. And again, we don't get that a lot with dead foods that we're eating, or even all the drinks, the protein drinks, the energy drinks, all those calories that we're getting, we're not actually chewing our food. So anytime I need my kids to be entertained for a long time, I am giving them an apple because it makes the time go a lot slower for them. So if we're in a car ride or if we are in the grocery store, they get an apple and they like it, and it takes them a long time to eat it, and then they don't bug me. And then apple juice. So this is kind of how the source concept works. And then we get much more value and it's way more affordable when we go closer to the source. So think about the source concept. This is a filter that you can run all food through. Is this healthy? Is this not? We have this food target we've had for a jillion years. It's on our website on targetliving.com. And this shows you how to eat closer to the center of the green circles. Those are foods closest to the source. And so when we think about the most popular supplement on the market today, it's apple cider vinegar gummies. Now, where does apple cider come from? It comes from an apple. We don't have to do any of these supplements or these processed forms if we're eating closer to the source. We don't need to take a shot of apple cider vinegar. We're getting it if we eat an apple. And I don't think many people enjoy taking a shot of apple cider vinegar. You could put it in dressings. You could cook with it, but there's no reason to have to take a shot every day unless you like it. But again, going back to get more value when you go closer to the source. And again, when we think about Mental Health Awareness Month, there is no coincidence that we have the highest rates of depression and mental health issues. And our most popular diet is a low carb diet. Number one food that boosts serotonin and makes us feel happy is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are also loaded in magnesium, which is our calming mineral. Now, not only does serotonin make us feel happy, but it also stimulates melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So again, if we're giving up some of these carbohydrates, we probably won't be sleeping as well, and we probably won't be as happy. Potatoes, number one food that makes us happy. It's the number one stimulating serotonin food. So don't give these things up. Don't feel like you have to follow these strict diets, because long term, we want to feel good. We want to look good, but we also want to feel good, and it can all go together. And if you are moving further away from the source and maybe you do love a good potato chip, you're looking at the ingredients, because that's number one indicator of quality. So your potato chip should have 3 ingredients: potatoes, sea salt, and a good quality oil. I like avocado oil, I like virgin coconut oil, and then extra virgin olive oil. Okay. Okay. And when we talked about dead foods versus live foods, if that makes sense, live foods, these are anything that grow, that ferment, that rot, that you bite into and it starts to brown. These are natural pre and probiotics. That's what helps the gut to thrive. And when our gut thrives, our brain thrives, and our immune system lives in our gut. So when we think about why kids have so many allergies these days, they can't do peanut butter and jellies at school anymore. It's because we're not eating live foods anymore. Our kids eat applesauce. They eat things in pouches. They eat things in boxes. They eat things in cans. They're not eating a lot of these real foods that actually help the gut to thrive. And therefore, they have a weakened immune system and they're not able to tolerate a lot of foods. So when we start to get the gut healthier, even for our children, that's where a lot of those allergies, autoimmune system issues, those start to go away. So just getting pre and probiotics naturally from food, because I think this is kind of what our food looks like. You know, if we are doing protein, we're not doing real food protein. We're doing protein powder or protein drinks, and now we're doing peptide injections. So before all this, we just ate food. So don't think about eating nutrients necessarily. We want to eat foods in their perfect package. The highest source of plant-based protein is hemp seeds. So if I'm going to add more protein to my smoothie, I'm going to use hemp seeds, which are right here on the left, and they're $4 a bag. They're cheap. 3 tablespoons gives you 11 grams of protein. And they're also really high in omega-6 fats that are great for hormones as we age. So there is a lot of nutrients when we go closer to the source, and it's going to be more affordable. Protein powder, protein drinks, a lot of the things we're taking, creatine, collagen, if we can't explain what it is or where it's coming from, we probably answered our own question. We want to get things from food. And the reason we're so obsessed with a lot of these supplements is because we're not doing those basics. So before any of those protein supplements, we just ate protein. So again, there's so many good plant-based proteins, but just going back to the simplicity of just protein-rich foods. And then prebiotics, probiotics, you don't have to take a probiotic pill if you're getting it through food. And there's also something called symbiotics, which are a combination. So that's why sourdough bread is so popular right now. You know, when you go through the whole fermentation process of letting the sourdough rise and ferment, it eats away most of the gluten. 98% of the gluten is just kind of absorbed into the bread and just it removed. So that's why people can actually break it down a little bit easier. So if you're looking for bread, maybe you're looking for sourdough, you're looking for better quality ingredients, but we're going back to more of those whole foods. And I think everyone can benefit. Now, a simple thing I think that really helps to feel good and especially good for the gut is a 14-hour fast overnight. So I'm not a big fan of intermittent fasting unless it works for you and it works into your lifestyle. I find that when most people work, it's hard to sustain not eating throughout the day. So instead, I always recommend a 14-hour fast from the time you eat dinner to the time you eat breakfast. So if you're eating dinner at 6 p.m., ideally you don't want to eat breakfast until 8 a.m. And the gut always needs time to rest and digest. That's what the parasympathetic nervous system does when we're sleeping. It's resting, it's digesting, it's healing. And then when we wake up in the morning, hopefully that helps with elimination. But I think it's one of the best things you can do for weight loss is this fast. And of course, it doesn't have to be every day, every night, but maybe Monday through Friday, you're paying attention. In our house, after dinner, we brush our teeth, we put our pajamas on, we watch a movie. I say the kitchen's closed because I got to a point where I was making like 5 different meals for different people and it was just getting crazy. And then kids were snacking all night. So we went back to this kitchen's closed, we're fasting. There's no reason to eat at, midnight unless we're just up. So getting in bed, putting our pajamas on, brushing our teeth. And we can also, when we think about Mental Health Awareness Month and all the stress that we have, we can eat our stress away. Not in the way you may be thinking, but with magnesium-rich foods. Magnesium's our calming mineral, the first mineral to become depleted just when we're stressed and we're living these crazy lifestyles is magnesium, and we get it through foods. Raw chocolate is called cacao nibs. I add those to a smoothie. dried mangoes, dried fruit, dates, figs, anything green will be really high in magnesium, seeds, nuts, and ancient grains. We're giving up a lot of these good grains, rolled oats, and these are loaded in magnesium, which really can help us to calm down and stimulate that nervous system to feel good. And one of the biggest magnesium breakfasts I love to do and super easy is just this oatmeal on the run. It's with a lot of these good calming foods. So that's usually where I throw in my cacao nibs or I'll put them in my smoothie. We at On Target Living, because we knew people love protein powder so much, we put together a smoothie blend that has cacao nibs, hemp seeds, chia seeds, and flax seeds. And then we just add those to a frozen fruit smoothie or a banana smoothie. It's a really easy way to get some of these things in. Now, as I leave here today, we're going to take some questions at the end. I'm here to tell you it's not enough to just be healthy all the time. It's not enough to just exercise and eat healthy because 10% of serotonin is made in the brain. And that's made in the brain through social interactions. So that's where sometimes we can live these very healthy lifestyles, but then we limit our social life and we feel like we can't have fun. We can't have this, we're not connecting with anyone. So while I said 90% of serotonin is made in the gut through the foods that we eat, and then of course we move to feel good, 10% of serotonin, it's made in the brain through social interactions. And when we think about every social interaction in this world, it revolves around food. And I think when we think about some of these diets that we're on, that's the biggest issue I have with diets. It doesn't allow you to have a social life. We're giving the things up that actually make us feel good. We study people in the blue zones. These are people who live the longest without disease. And the number one indicator of longevity is their social life. Yes, they do a lot of eating in moderation and very into movement, but social. And so again, we don't want to give these things up. We want to be able to live healthy without making these sacrifices because we can all know, we all understand that when we go tailgating, we're probably going to drink some beer, we're going to have a burger. That's okay. That's what makes life fun and we don't want to give this up. So I'm going to leave you with a plan today where you can kind of put this all together and you can have the best of both worlds. I always tell people you can have your cake and eat it too, but it does require a little plan. It doesn't have to be super crazy or rigid, but it comes down to this 80-20 rule. So if you think about 80% of the time, you maybe move your body on a regular basis, you eat better foods closest to the source, you're looking at ingredients, you're paying attention. Maybe you're getting better sleep because sleep is the number one way to recharge our batteries. That's calorie-free energy. But then 20% of the time, you don't worry about it. You splurge, you go out with friends, you have that social life. That's 4 meals out of the week that you can still have your health. You can indulge, but you're not giving anything up. And that's a key indicator of how we can live in a way where we have a little bit more balance instead of living on these extremes. The reason birthday cake is so special is because we only have on occasion. Guilt comes when we overdo. If we have birthday cake every day, it's not going to be as special. And I think sometimes we feel guilty when we do indulge. It's only because we've been indulging too much. So when that pleasure can be placed within our foundation, within that 80%, it does land differently and you don't feel as bad. So if you are going out for pizza or you're going out for burgers, I think the thing people miss is that you want to make sure you make your 20% of the time count. You don't waste it on things that aren't worth it. You plan ahead, you seek it out, you indulge, you spend time with friends, you own it, and that's where you don't have guilt. And I love coffee, but I do know that coffee lands differently when I am rested, when I'm hydrated, when I've ate breakfast. Usually I like coffee mid-morning when I can actually sip and enjoy it. If we're eating pastries, maybe it's not just eating pastries after, being starving all day. We're planning ahead for these moments, and that's where we don't feel as much guilt when we use that 80-20 rule. And then small steps, we never leave a presentation without talking about taking little baby steps, because I think a lot of the things I told you today, you are thinking, this is all simple information. I know all this. So why am I not doing it? It's not what we know, it's what we do. And while everything I told you today is simple, and maybe some of you have seen me before talk about some of these things and you thought to yourself, I remember her talking about this, 10 years ago. That's because these concepts will never change because they're trustworthy, they're true. And sometimes simple doesn't always go viral because it's not trendy, it's not sexy, but we know that it does work. And when we start to take these small steps, these simple ideas become easy. Because even though they're simple, they're not always easy. And they become easy when we form habits, when we build daily rituals. Just because we're busy doesn't mean we forget to shower. I open up my fridge in the morning, my oatmeal on the run is always sitting right there. I don't even remember that I made it, because that's how these daily habits and rituals can be over time. Our lifestyle, this healthy lifestyle, can be easy, and it can be part of our ritual if we're just taking these small steps. We're building one small thing at a time. We don't have to do everything overnight. And then I'm going to leave this slide. This is my contact information. If you have any specific questions, reach out. We're a family business. We love supporting, especially our community. We're Lansing area based. And then this QR code, this is a 21-day eating challenge. So this kind of guides you through eating according to this food target. You're not giving anything up. You're just making it better. And it's a good way to see how this can look and how you can eat in a way that actually supports you, because a lot of the things we see right now just don't fit in real life. I'll tune on to Instagram and I see, people waking up to the sunrise and meditating for an hour each day. And it almost makes me annoyed because it's just not real life. We just don't, again, back to the time, we know we can manage our energy better, but we don't have time for always the things that we think we need. We want it to fit within our real life, and make it sustainable. And then, of course, our website, we have a lot of free downloads. We have books, cookbooks. A lot of our exercise videos are on YouTube. If you ever want to give yoga a try or these warm-ups, we have all this stuff on YouTube. And now we have a Rest, Eat, Move. Our Rest, Eat, Move book is free audio version on YouTube as well. So please use us as a resource.